Alright. Hello, my name is Austin Spurl, and I'm going to be interviewing Barbie Jones. Okay, so the first question, what years did you go to Wash High?
I went to Wash High 1984 through 1987.
Did you attend the Park School or the Ward schools?
I attended 7th Ward, kindergarten, 1st grade, and then I moved out to the Park School. It was called Washington Elementary Educational Park, then we called it WEEP, 2nd through 8th. And then I came to Wash High.
Alright, so what type of clubs were available to join at Wash High?
There were tons. We had the W Club, we had the Key Club, we had all the different band clubs. There was, I'm trying to think. I'd have to almost open my yearbook to remember.
What clubs
National
were you in?
Honor Society.
They said some of them you were
I was in the Still Band.
Ooh.
First year they had that was my junior year, so now they've really expanded. There were only 5 of us my junior year. I was involved in the Key Club, the W Club, the French Club, National Honor Society. We had a medical club, and I can't remember what it was called. Future Physicians, maybe. I was in that, but that was like 8th grade going into 9th. So there were several clubs, about the same that you have now, but maybe called something different.
Any sports?
I ran track. Freshman, sophomore, junior, not my senior year. I was drum major my senior year, so I was very involved in the band. You have a lot more electives than we did, which sounds probably interesting because we were a much larger school.
Yeah.
I graduated with 157 kids.
Yeah, right now we have less than 100. So.
Right, so there's been some change, but we had electives, but I feel like you have more higher end electives that we didn't have. The first year I was a senior, we did AP English. So that was the first year we gave the test here at Wash High, and I passed. So that was a good thing. I didn't have to take English my freshman year at college, so that was awesome.
Okay, how did events going on in the world at the time you were at Wash High spread into your education and school life?
We did a lot of current events, I think, in almost all of our classes. I think several of my teachers had bulletin boards, and if you brought in a current event article and could stand up and say a few things about it, you got extra credit. And that was almost in every class except for maybe math. I'm trying to think what was going on in the world then. When I went to IUP, when I graduated from Wash High, we had the first Iraq War, Desert Storm. But I don't think, we had a few conflicts, but I don't remember if it being, we didn't really have anything that I can remember really going on when I was a junior, senior. The biggest thing that was a current event that I remember watching, we all got together in the cafeteria, all the upperclassmen, and I believe it was all of the kids. We all crammed into the cafeteria, which looked a lot different then. And we actually watched the space shuttle go up.
Oh, okay.
It was with the first, Mrs. McCullough was the first teacher. And we were so excited about it. And then in front of us all, we had like a big screen down there. And that was tragic. I remember it being it was very solemn. So that was probably the worst thing that happened that I can remember being in high school. I was a junior that year. So that was awful. And we talked about that, talked about the whole NASA program and all that, so yeah.
So what was the building like at this time?
I loved the building back then. I don't believe it has ever retained the beauty that it had then. We had marble, the bathroom floors were marble, all the windowsills were marble, the windows were all oak wood, the stalls in the bathroom were the swinging oak doors. It was just really good quality, non-destructible material. And the high school looks beautiful, but it's not my school. I think it's really changed. I really like the old building.
Yeah.
But the gym has remained just as beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of people say that the gym is very similar.
It is. So that's kind of like, I feel like I'm at home when I go into the gym. We had a beautiful stage that we no longer have.
Yeah, a lot of people, like I've interviewed several people, and they've said that the stage was...
It was there. And I think as far as events at the school, the one thing that I wish we could bring back, and I don't know that we ever will be able to, when I was a junior on student council, I was the secretary, and we were in charge of the junior prom for the seniors. And if you ever get a chance to look at some of the old yearbooks, we would have a whole week off. We would be working on it after school, and then the day before, we had the whole day off, the kids that were on student council that were on the prom committee. And we took over the entire gym. And the year that we did it, it was a Southern theme, and we actually had swings hanging from the gym, 6 different swings. We had trees that we constructed out of pomping paper. We had a pond that we had a bridge. We had a beautiful old Southern mansion that we constructed on the stage, and it was absolutely beautiful. And you looked like you were going to a true southern, area. And the year, I think after that, I don't remember the theme, but every year it was like we tried to updo the year before.
Yeah.
And it was a real effort. It took us a lot of money, but I think kids were a lot more involved in that than they maybe are now.
Yeah.
And they don't get to use the whole auditorium, which is too bad, because that was really kind of special.
Okay, so how were Wash High versus Trinity tensions at the time?
I don't remember of having that many. I had a lot of Trinity friends, and when I went to high school, after every home game, we had a dance here at the high school. And a lot of Trinity kids would come down. We made a ton of money for student council. It was just very simple. We didn't have pizza or anything. We had some refreshments, but we had a DJ, and we had a little ball that spun, and we had lights, and we would just, celebrate our victories, because we were very, Guy Montecalvo was the coach at the time, and we were extremely powerful. And Trinity, I don't remember their record, but we had a lot of kids, even some of the JFK kids would come down, and we would just have a nice community dance. And I don't remember there being really any fights or any tension. The football players would come after the game, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think the tensions were really the years before, like
probably
a couple of decades before.
And I don't even think they're that bad now, really.
No,
yeah.
We don't play them
which is a nice
much
thing,
anymore.
right?
Like football, we don't. Basketball, not anymore. So it's died
helps.
down. Yeah, the community's together more now.
I believe that.
What are your most memorable experiences? My mom was telling me about the band, the whistle.
Oh yes, my first game. It was an away game, and I had the drum major whistle, and I was getting everyone back into getting ready to go out into the field. We were all in the stands. And it was the very last play of the half, and I blew my whistle to get their attention, and of course the play stopped. Thank goodness it was towards the end. And of course, Mark Spillane, who was the band director at the time, looked at me like furious, was very upset with me. And just being so automatic, I wasn't even really thinking about what was happening. But yeah, that was probably a bad experience. I had some great memories. I loved high school. I'm still in touch with some of my friends. I feel like Wash High has always been that close family, and I think I still see that in the kids. Mm-hmm. We didn't have the junior high here, so that's been a huge difference. But really, we were very close. We were close on our teams. We were close in the hallway. We didn't have a lot of the bullying that unfortunately I see. And I can't say I was in the most popular group, but I got along with a lot of people. I think being in the band and being the drum major, I knew a lot of the underclassmen, which was nice. Mm-hmm. And I was very honored to be the homecoming queen that year, which was a total shock, truly. And I don't really have any negative memories at all of Wash High. And I do bleed black and blue, so.
So what was the most controversial thing going on at the time? Well, we kind of went, or there wasn't too much.
I don't really think of anything controversial. I think the one thing we did not like, Penny Starkey was our gym teacher at the time, and the only thing that we used to complain about, and I loved her, I respect her very much, she was a great teacher, but we did a lot of dancing, and we had to wear leotard type things, and we hated that, which you wouldn't really see now. So I think that part of it, the girls complained about doing that, learning the old shuffle and stuff. We were kind of like, ugh. But really, I can't think of any controversies we really had.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So how did technology correlate with your education?
I took a typing class with Mrs. Stasek, and we did not have any computers. We had typewriters. And honestly, the only computer I had my senior year was a typewriter that had a little tiny screen that as you typed it would go across, but there was no any computer programming going on at all. I would still remember Mr. Jardine and Mr. Raja, my history teachers, would always have out the film projector, and we'd watch old films, but we really didn't have the great technology that you kids have, which is such a blessing. You have knowledge at your fingertips. The library had the old Dewey Decimal System, and they had the card catalog. There was no computer to look things up, and we certainly didn't have the internet. So I was really kind of I was on that cusp of where all that kind of just changed.
It was
just happening.
Just the end of the era.
Exactly.
So, what were some of the social themes at the time at high school? While you're in high school.
Social themes. We had a lot of. I think we had much more patriotism back then. This is terrible. I don't know what Bush. I think had just come in. Reagan was done, and I feel like we had this great pride in being Americans. I really don't see that as much anymore, which is sad. I don't think that's just happening here. I think it's probably nationally. We just kind of, and I don't know why that's happened. I think this this generation of kids really hasn't had a major conflict that they've all been involved with, which is a blessing. But I don't know about themes. I mean, disco was big, 80s music. Duran Duran was a big band. Word Up was the #1 song my senior year. I can't remember who sang that. We did a lot of dances. We had a lot of themes. The week before homecoming, we did a much bigger deal with themes, but I don't know that the kids today would be able to behave through it. But we had like toga day where we literally wore sheets, togas. And people got awards for that, and I can't see you guys doing that today.
Today I don't think
right, it would be iffy. But honestly, I don't remember of us having a dress code, but we all just dressed for success. And as a teacher in my own alumni school, that's probably the thing that I feel as far as a theme would go, an underlying theme as a high school kid at Wash High. I feel like kids don't respect themselves as much as they used to. I feel like we always dressed, even the kids that maybe didn't have the economic needs, still came to school with appropriate attire. And I feel like we learned at a level that I don't think that our schooling was any better. I just think that we had a lot of respect for education. We wanted to do well. So Prexy Pride was always the theme though.
Yeah.
And it still is. That's a good thing.
Some pop culture at the time. Like, I don't know, like things like you guys did, like
pop culture. I really can't think of anything.
Like what was like some of the things like you guys did like after like school, like?
We were outside a lot. We didn't do. I mean, we would go to the movies. We had a big movie theater, the Midtown Theater, which is now a church.
Oh yeah.
We'd all go to that theater, and that was a big hangout. We'd go to the malls. I mean, it was then the Franklin Mall. Now it's the Crown Center. We'd kind of go there and hang out a little bit. We'd go to each other's houses. Though we had sleepovers. We'd go to. You know, if there was a dance somewhere, we'd do that. We'd hang out at home. We'd have bonfires. We'd, play kick the can. We'd play jailbreak, even when we were in. I mean, that was a big deal. And East Washington, I had a lot of friends that lived in East Washington, so W&J wasn't quite as large as it's become. But I mean, we just kind of hung out. I think probably similar to what we didn't do any. There was no gaming. Yeah. I mean, now gaming's got. I mean, I think Atari was like the only thing you could play. So. I really think that's probably we just kind of did more the neighborhood community stuff. Kennywood was always a big thing.
Oh, that's
and Dark in the Park. The park was owned, Washington actually ran the park, just our city of Washington. And we would do Dark in the Park where you would pay and you'd have a hayride and there would be scary goblins, and it was scary, but they made a ton of money. And then they always put off great fireworks on the 4th of July at the park. So
they still do the Dark in the Park?
I don't think so now.
Yeah, I can remember doing it when I was younger, but I don't remember.
I think when Washington backed out and they really don't have one area, I think all the municipalities maybe put money in, or I don't really know how the park is run, but when we were no longer just the sole entity, I think that kind of changed because we really didn't have sole power over that.
So, what was your family life like?
I grew up in a very middle class. Both parents were teachers. My dad taught here at Wash High. I grew up in Mount Lebanon, was a football player, and then wanted to be a coach and knew you had to be a teacher to be a coach. So he went to Slippery Rock and then went to Pitt for his master's, and then left Mount Lebanon because at that time Washington was in the 50s was the up and coming school district. And he loved all of his years. He was here 40 years, 44 with military when he retired. My mom really didn't go back to work after she had my sister and I, and then she worked part-time, then finally got in full-time again. But we just a very loving, middle class, didn't really want for anything, but really didn't need much. I mean, we were happy with a new pair of tennis shoes and a bike. We really didn't need all the designer. I don't remember if there being designer. I think Gloria Vanderbilt was the big name, and Calvin Klein was starting to be known, but we really didn't have a big deal with what you wore or which was probably a really good thing. But I was just a very blessed young lady that was here in a great school.
All right, so this is the last question. What classes did you take?
Like my senior year?
High school?
Throughout?
Like you were saying, like AP English.
I took the AP classes my senior year. We had a geometry or a geography class that I loved. I don't know that they teach it with me. That was the class was geography, which I loved.
Yeah, we had like a class that was kind of like has it in there.
Right, but this was solely,
we don't have that.
And that was awesome because I don't think kids know
a
lot about the global.
People still struggle with the states.
Exactly. So we had that. I took all the maths. I took trig and then calculus. I took 2 years of French. I was the president of the French club my senior year with Madame McCabe was our teacher at the time. Took, just all the Englishes that you were supposed to take. I guess I was in the upper track, but it's different than how they have it laid out now. We had a general, a middle, and then a high. Now I think they have almost like a general and then a high. It's not as, now as far as English goes, and I don't know that, but I know that it was more like a college prep and then honors. But nothing was weighed any different except for the AP class. And I was very involved in band. I was in jazz band, sang with our jazz band, played the saxophone. I was the first singer in the jazz band, yeah. I think I was a sophomore when he let me go on stage, and that was it for me. I wanted to be a singer. And still sing professionally, but wanted to be a teacher, so. When I sing in my classroom, they can't leave the stage. They can't leave the event. They're here for grades, so they're stuck with me when I start to sing. But was involved in the steel drum, which was an awesome thing. I missed out on the years where they got to open for Jimmy Buffett. I graduated before that started happening, but I loved the band life. I love music, and I think that added to everything I do in life, probably. But sports were great, and I was a cheerleader, sophomore, junior, senior year. Couldn't do both drum major and cheering, so I had to give that kind of up my senior year, but just loved being a Prexy and loved our teams, and I loved the teachers, and I honestly know that I probably had the best education I could have ever asked for going on to college, so I was very well prepared. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. It was fun.